Okay, so we're going. Don't have to hit record or anything after that? Like, okay.
Go back to the same thing and hit stop streaming. Some of the other groups do record it, but I think we're fine.
Okay.
Start the video. Video call mobile. Hold on a second. Should I be able to see myself as one of the participants? I can see the guys on the committee. It says the City of Columbus Graphics Commission will begin in, it's got a countdown, and then
Mark, we can see you.
well, I don't know. All right, thanks a lot, man. Thank you. Bye.
We can see you and hear you, Mark.
Jamie and Michael, your names are reversed on your video.
Yeah, we're trying a little cross training here, so Michael's actually hosting on my computer.
Okay, cool.
Danny gets to go on a cool vacation next month, in which case off to come into the office and host.
Come on, that's okay. So I can see these guys. I got my camera and see it. Flip it so it sits on. Yeah. How comes I don't see it? Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, I got about time. Is there any preliminary business? Mr. Freeze? Can you hear me?
Tablings.
Oh, you want me to host everything, or you just wanted me to host the,
Everything. Trial by fire.
You're gonna be here. All right. Phil, can you bring up the PowerPoint? Sorry, my voice is still gone from that crazy crew game. So we've got 3 tablings. We want to start with the first one there.
Okay. The applicant in this case, please come forward. This is GC 20-040633 West Fifth Avenue.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Dave Perry, I'm here to table that application.
All right. Do I have a motion to table said application?
Yeah. Yes, I'll either make the motion or second it.
I'll make the motion.
I will second the motion.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded that we table this application for 1 month. All in favor? Can I just use a voice vote, Mr. Finish, or should I call the roll?
Yeah, for a table, you can just do it all in favor.
Okay, all in favor, use the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Not hearing any opposed, then matter is approved. We will table this one until next month. Mr. Perry, thank you for coming.
Very good, thank you.
Our next
All right,
request is GC 20-045 975 East Dublin Granville Road. The applicant please come forward.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Green. I'm here on behalf of the application 20-045. Request that it be tabled till January.
Okay, ma'am. Do I have a motion to table this?
Rich, I'll move it. Do we table it?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, use the sign of aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Not hearing any opposed. Matter is passed. It is tabled until next month, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
See you in January. Thank you.
And the third one is GC 20-44 044 4201 Easton Commons. Would the applicant please come forward?
You may have to unmute yourself.
I'm Jeff Brown, attorney for the applicant. We'd like to table this till January, please.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do I have a motion to table this?
I move to table this.
Or a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, use the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Not hearing any opposed. This matter is passed. Mr. Brown, we'll
Thank
see
you.
you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Then the first case that I have before me is 5240 Walcott Court. Would the applicant please come forward?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Dave Perry, here on behalf of the application, and
Okay.
Mark Ricciuto with Maris Brothers.
I need to swear you both in. I'll swear you in separately. Mr. Perry, swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Would you repeat your name for the record and your affiliation to this case?
Dave Perry is my name. I'm a consultant on the application to the applicant.
Thank you. And who was the other gentleman?
Go ahead, Mark.
Ricciuto. Mark Ricciuto.
Yes, sir. Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Would you repeat your name for the record and your affiliation to this case?
Mark Ricciuto. I'm the project executive for the construction company that handled this entire project for Ohio Capital.
Okay, thank you, sir. Would you mind spelling your name for the Miss?
Sure. First name is Mark with a K. Last name is Ricciuto.
Thank you. Okay, who's presenting this one, Mr. Rice?
I have it. Yes, I
Thanks,
have it.
Dave.
All right, so this is case number GC 20-036, 5240 Walcott Court. It is located at the terminus of Walcott Court, approximately 770 feet west of Walcott Road. It's in the area that's served by the Far West Area Commission, or Far West Side Area Commission, and they recommend approval of this request. The proposal is for variance to section 3377.04A and B2A for the graphic area sign height and setback to increase the allowable height of a ground sign from 30 feet to 35 feet and to increase the allowable graphic area from 300 square feet to 345 square feet. If you show the picture there of the ground sign, Phil, please, that's next. So that's the sign that's there right now. I think it's been there for a very long time. And then some of the other signs in the background, those are, most of those are motorist services uses. And so they get an increase in height automatically just because they are motorist services uses. In this particular situation, it is not a motorist services use, so they don't qualify, which is the reason why they're here asking for the variances. So this is a construction, a heavy construction equipment dealer. From what I understand, the largest one in Ohio for this company, and they're asking for a sign that would look like the picture that you see right now. So they're trying to be a little more recognized along the freeway. There are also other signs. There's a truck repair. I think it's Freightliner is one of the pictures, one of the slides that you'll see, and they have a larger than normal sign also. So it's not unusual to see that in the area. So, having said all that, the Division of Planning states that they are opposed to this because it is not in keeping with the Trayview-Roberts area plan, and so they discourage pole and freeway and excessively large signs. Therefore, the city staff is recommending disapproval of this request, and for that reason. Far West Area Commission, like I said, recommended approval, and we are asking for no conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Perry, would you present your case, please?
Yes, thank you. The sign proposal and the variances requested are as stated by staff. I'd like to start with Mark doing a short discussion about Ohio Cat and as a business and why they need the sign, and I'll come back and have a few comments also.
Thank
So
you,
thank you,
sir.
Gary. So just some brief, interesting points on Ohio Cat. Last year, they reached $1 billion in sale, and that's an all Ohio company. That entire $1 billion in revenue was generated from within the state of Ohio. They have currently have 1,600 employees. They now have 44 facilities throughout the state. And last year and this year, on a 2-year project, they've invested $22 million at the site where they're asking to have the sign enlarged. The reason that they're asking for this is Caterpillar International provides standards for all the cat franchises throughout the United States and the world. And one of the things, obviously, that they focus on is branding, marketing, and signage. And through their studies, they developed this standard and these sizes based on safety, based on researching what they feel in terms of size and height would be commensurate with what those city standards are throughout the country. And obviously they vary widely. So they tried to put something that was close as possible to being accepted in as many cities as possible. Again, because it's a standard, it's very cost effective and it's very timely in terms of being able to accomplish it. To go outside of the Ohio or the Caterpillar International sign standards creates a number of complications. And in terms of marketing and studies, some of the other important facts in terms of why they want the sign is they don't only sell, rent, and repair heavy equipment, but major large trucks as well are repaired. All the semi fleets you see that travel in and out of Ohio, which is one of the 4th heavily traveled semi-tractor trailer uses in the country on our interstates. 15 to 20% of their business, I was actually surprised by this, is attracted by truckers coming from outside the area and being alerted to a CAT facility for parts or repairs, based on highway signage. In addition to that, they have other not as large businesses, but that travel throughout the state, like plumbing companies, site work companies, companies of that nature, where it's also helpful for them in terms of rental and repair. They aren't always familiar with the area, and again, having that highway signage there is helpful for them in terms of locating CAT facilities. So, those are the main reasons that they're asking for the request that they are.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Dave Rice. Yes, thank you, Dave Rice. Could you go back to the sign elevation you had up a moment ago? Yep, thank you. Members of the Graphics Commission, a ground sign of 30 feet tall and 300 square feet is permitted by permit. This sign, as Mark mentioned, is the Ohio Cat corporate identification. We're showing it at 35 feet, so the request being made of you is to increase sign height from 30 to 35 feet. We're on an interstate highway. I don't need to tell you about high speeds and traffic volume, but the request is just to put it up 5 feet higher. And then 300 square feet is permitted, and we're requesting 345. As you can see from the sign elevation, the Ohio Cat panel is 256 square feet, and Ohio Cat is also heavily involved with rental of equipment. So it's really the second cabinet, the Cat, the rental store, 88 square feet, that's putting it up to 345 to identify those two primary areas of the business. we acknowledge it's not a motorist services use. That's why the application is being made. But the area plan also talks about economic development of the area and promoting economic development, quote, building on the success of existing businesses in order to develop thriving, attractive business districts. And Ohio CAT is that. They've spent $22 million recently on modernizing and expanding the facility and requesting these small variances to for the slightly taller and slightly larger sign with that second panel. The area commission unanimously supported this, and staff told me today they received an email from a nearby property owner supporting the application also. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I add one more point?
Yes, sir.
So in relationship to economic development, I did also forget to mention that Ohio CAT next year is looking at building a new rental store at about $8 million in Columbus, as well as they're looking at purchasing an existing facility there and renovating, which would be another $5 million. And that's all planned for next year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Perry, can you tell me what the hardship is in this case?
Sure. The hardship is visibility of the sign at the speeds indicated, or at the speeds on the interstate highway. Numerous other taller signs with much more area. Your motorist doesn't. The person driving the area doesn't know the distinction between motorist services use and other identification. So it's equitable treatment for signage along an interstate and reasonable identification of both the business and services provided.
So, do you have any targets or anything that show that it can't be seen?
We don't have specific targeting, but I think that question's been addressed with several hotel and restaurant signs that are much taller than this in the area.
And they are motor service uses. Are there any other questions, anyone?
I do.
Mike?
Yes. I'm looking at the drawing of the sign, and it looks like the Ohio by 23 feet. But when I multiply that out, it's not 256 square feet, it's half that. So I don't know if there's something that's something wrong with the square footage. It got doubled up there. Now the bottom one's okay. It's like 88, like it says, but to take the 6 foot, 6 times 23 is like 138, or I don't know, whatever, 138, I think. So is that accurate dimension on that? I mean, I'm all for great company, and it's great. It needs to have that exposure and all that, but I don't know about just questioning the math on that.
Mr. Chairman, we might have our architect that designed this on the phone. I'm not sure if he was able to connect or not, and he might be able to answer that question.
Mike, I think that the open space between the two signs is counted in that square footage, and I think that accounts for why yours is less than what they're saying. It actually doesn't exist there.
Well, I mean the square footage mark sign, and certainly I think I don't know, maybe James can get class of the whole square footage.
Do you need the 5 feet between the two signs? Whatever that is.
Yeah, well, again, it's part of the standard in terms of separation between Ohio Caterpillar itself and the rental component of Caterpillar. It's what you'll see on all their signs.
It's
Mr.
just that
Rashudo, you really don't have any leeway to modify this sign at all?
And it gets into manufacturing and cost issues because obviously they've got this template, and from a manufacturing standpoint, there's no customization. They're able to just crank these out. I mean, I can't speak for Caterpillar International, but if potentially they wanted to maybe make the area between the two signs a little smaller, I think that might be a possibility. I think part of it was, though, just for clarity, so it was easier to see and easier to differentiate between the two, rather than having them closer together.
Phil, would you show a ground shot, please? I think I have one in there that's coming from the ramp the opposite direction. I thought that I took one the day that I was out there, but I may not have. Coming from Rome Hilliard Road going east is what I'm looking for, but I don't see it. I would have to attest to the notion that if coming from Rome Hilliard Road, that it would it was a little unclear, so I don't know if that helps or not. And I also wanted to confirm that I did receive an email from a Mr. Piscitelli, who lives at 5243. I'm sorry. He lives on at 5348 Tradeview Road, and he said his house is directly across the street from the property. He's lived there for 40 years. He represents the homeowners in the area, and he was in favor of the request. He didn't see any problem with it at all.
Les, this is Rich. I have a question or
Yeah.
a comment.
Yes.
I guess I was very, very surprised to learn that they have do almost 20% of their business in repairs, especially for truckers that are traveling through the area. In my mind, that also helps make it more of a motorist services unit. I also remember we did something for a parking lot ceiling company on the east side that was along the freeway that had a sign similar to something like this that we did permit. I guess in my mind, I can see their hardship that it just, to get it up a little bit higher so it can be seen, as Dave said, coming from, I forget the direction, Dave, but in my mind, I can see the hardship there for this. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, this is Pete. Follow up on what Mike Hoy was getting at is, when I look at the square footage, the Ohio Cat box at the top is like 140 square feet. And then you've got just under 89 square feet for the cat rental piece underneath. So square footage wise, I don't quite understand how we're exceeding. But the other question really is from a height standpoint, and we've done a lot of studies on freeway visibility to signage and in my line of business. But the 17 feet that is the clear space underneath the rental store piece, is that the key piece that you're looking at in terms of why you need to raise it 5 feet? Because I'm not reading why, exactly why 5 feet, not 10 feet or 15 feet or from a visibility standpoint, but a 5 foot differential, you're still, you're at 17 feet clear to the bottom. So I don't know if the applicant can speak to that.
Caterpillar, if they could, they like the sign's 50 feet tall. But again, they tried to work within what they felt would be, acceptable limits within, they work in so many different communities across the country. I guess what they did was research a lot of the standards that are out there and try and average everything out and come up with something that would be acceptable to the majority of cities. I think my understanding where their general heights came from. And most of the signage along the freeways, you do have vegetation and things which also weighed into it. And that seemed to be a height that was acceptable to clear, most of the obstacles that I guess they've confronted from facility to facility.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the tree and brush line also. That 17 feet clears a good bit of that and gets the sign up above the vegetation.
So the follow-up is the square footage count. So could we get a better idea of how that square footage is absolutely counted? And I know Jim had stated maybe if you took the 5 feet underneath it, but that 5 feet underneath it doesn't go 23 feet 4 wide. It's only 12 foot 11. So how are we getting to 256?
This is Mark. I'm actually trying to get our architect on the telephone to see if I can help out here.
This is Mike Hoy. When I figure a sign.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'm sorry. I do have our architect on the phone. Ryan, they raised a question. They were saying the square footage for the cat rental part of the sign, they understand that. But they said when you take the 23.4 and the 6 foot 11, obviously you multiply it out, it's like the 180 square foot range, and we have next to the sign that we presented to them 256 square feet, and they were wondering, like, the numbers just didn't add up, and they thought, well, maybe did we include the space between the rental sign and the Ohio Cat sign as part of the sign square footage? Okay. So the dimensions you're comfortable with, 23.4 and 6 feet 11 and a half, correct? Okay. All right. So gentlemen, I do have the architect on the phone. The dimensions are correct. He apologizes. He's not sure why the numbers are off. So really, the request or the sign, I guess, would be within your square foot limitation, based on what he's telling me right now. So the dimensions of the sign are correct. It's just the mathematics weren't correct in coming up with the square footage.
Well, you can drop the 300 square foot because you're not going to be over that. You'll be fine without that part of the variance.
Right. So you're really just asking for the height variance, if we could agree that the area is under the 300.
Correct. Could we have staff confirm?
That's what I'm asking now.
Yeah.
Are we agreeing, staff, that the area is less than the 300 and that part of the variance can be deleted?
That's how it looks to me. Yeah.
Brian is still there.
Okay. We're going to delete that part of the variance, gentlemen. Now, if I don't hear is there anyone else who would like to speak to this case? Not hearing anyone else. I believe that, considering that this may actually be a motor service use for the rental and repair kinds of portions of the business, I'm willing to say that this sign is appropriate for this particular location. And let's see. Then I need Remind me again what I need. I need to do
A finding of fact.
okay, that's my finding of fact. Then I need to have them vote on that.
Well, Mr. Cooper, you said no, correct?
You need to make a motion to adopt the finding of fact that the chairman just proposed.
Okay.
Right. And
Thank
then,
you.
And I'll make that motion.
Vote, correct?
Say that again, Jamie?
Then the conclusion of law would be the vote.
Correct.
Approval or disapproval. Okay.
Okay, so we need a motion for the finding of fact. And a second.
Rich, I think Rich Mashinsky might have something to say. You're on silent.
I will second it. Thank you.
Okay, did you get that? Okay, great. Then I'm gonna lose the law portion. We can vote on, but this is I can't think of the term anymore.
We need to vote on whether or not to adopt the finding of fact that we just filed a motion for.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so we need a roll for the approval of the finding of fact. Can you go ahead with that, Dave, I guess?
Okay, Mr. Mashinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Cooperman,
Yes.
Mr. Hoy,
Yes.
Mr. Carey.
Mr. Carey is absent. He just sent me an email.
I'm sorry. All right, Mr. Bender,
Yes.
Chairman Thompson.
Yes, and that portion is approved. Now, as far as the law portion is concerned, I'm gonna have to write this down again because I have forgotten it from last time. So once we have an approval of the finding of fact, what's next?
We're then voting whether or not to approve the sign based upon the finding of fact.
Thank you, Brian. So let's
And
have
this
a
is
roll call
this is Robert
based on
Tobias.
that.
This is
Excuse me?
Robert Tobias. I'm on the line, so if you have questions, just let me know. But Mr. Cooperman seems to have it well in hand.
Thank you, sir. Then let's have a roll call voting on this sign, please.
Okay, Mr. Mashinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Cooperman,
Yes.
Mr. Hoy,
Yes.
Mr. Bender,
Yes.
Chairman Thompson.
Yes, and the sign is approved, Mr. Perry. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Okay. So one time through that, maybe I'll remember it now. Let's see. Our next case, number 2 is tabled. Number 3 is 5531 North Hamilton Road. Would the applicant please come forward?
Hi, this is John Stevenson, attorney for the applicant.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Need to swear you in. Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but true, so help you God.
I do.
Would you repeat your name again for the record and your affiliation to the case?
My name is John Stevenson of Cooperman Mental Ferguson Yaros, and I'm the attorney for the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. And who's presenting this one? Jamie?
Just a second, Phil. I think we need to swear in one more person, and I think Mr. Cooperman is going to recuse himself. We'll get this on the record.
I see.
Yes,
who
yes,
else
Jamie.
wanted to speak to this case? Who else do I need to swear in?
Bill Logan, Dave Paul.
Yes, sir. Okay. Gentlemen, you can state your names after I swear you in so that she can get them for the record, but you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
I do.
Could you repeat your names then for her, for the record?
My name is Dave Pull. I chair the Northland Community Council Development Committee, and we are the area group that's heard this case and come with recommendations.
Thank you. Sir?
And similarly, I'm William Logan, I'm the vice chair of the Northland Community Council's Development Committee.
Thank you. And Mr. Freeze, presenting this one.
Mr. Cooperman first.
Oh, you want to have him put it on the record that he's recusing himself?
I thought I did. Yeah, I'm recusing myself from this case. Thanks, Jamie.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Yeah, I'm presenting this second case. 5531 North Hamilton Road is located at the northwest corner of North Hamilton Road and Ruston Avenue. As stated, the site is within the Northland Community Council and zoned limited commercial. The site is developed with a grocery store, which has an existing ground sign. I believe it's an Aldi. To the north and south are commercial uses. To the immediate west is an apartment complex. The applicant, who is representing the residential development to the west of the subject site, is proposing to add the name of their apartment complex to the existing ground sign and request a special permit for an off-premises graphic. Section 337801D, special permit shall be required to allow installation of any permanent or temporary off-premise sign not specifically provided for in this graphics code. Planning Division states that the Northland Plan Volume 2 states that large commercial developments should utilize integrated signage and avoid multiple freestanding signs. The Northland Community Council recommends disapproval of this request, and I'll let Mr. Logan and Mr. Paul address that specifically. City staff is recommending approval. Again, as stated previously, the Northland Plan Volume 2 states that large commercial developments should utilize integrated signage and avoid multiple freestanding signs. Staff can recommend approval as the proposal is consistent with these guidelines as it allows the applicant to combine a potential freestanding sign with an existing sign. We are asking for two conditions. The first is the special permit is valid only for the property located on parcel 010-280-741, which is the apartment complex to the west, and that the elevation will be stamped by the commission. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, Mr. Stevenson, would you present your case, please?
Sure, thank you. As Jamie stated, our request is for a special permit for the off-premises graphic that we would modify the existing Aldi monument sign by adding a sign which identifies our apartment complex located behind the Aldi, which would increase the height of the Aldi sign by about 2 feet, but doesn't otherwise substantially change the existing sign or character of the neighborhood. The purpose for making this request is so that we have visibility along Hamilton Road, which is the main thoroughfare there, which would provide aid in wayfinding and just awareness of the apartment complex. Also, as Jamie said, we initially had proposed two separate signs for the apartment complex. We got some feedback from staff that they felt it was more appropriate to consolidate the signs into one sign. So that's the application we submitted and that you guys have before you. We also met with the Northland Community Council, who recommended disapproval. And I'm sure Mr. Logan and Mr. Paul will speak more to that, but my understanding was that they weren't recommending disapproval based on the design of the sign, but rather just issuing any special permit for off-premises signs. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Paul, or?
Thank you.
Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll try to be brief. Between Mr. Logan and I, we can be wordy, but I appreciate Mr. Stevenson's introduction of our thoughts on this, and in fact, he is right. First, let me commend staff. I think we agree this was a creative solution in terms of avoiding having two signs on the right-of-way. We do recognize that it is a creative idea. But the committee was, first of all, met with Mr. Stevenson on December 2nd. Our recommendation was for disapproval, and it was unanimous. And in fact, that motion was made by two communities that are not far from that Hamilton Road corridor, and their representatives travel it daily. So I did want to point out we have some local expertise to offer here. The committee's overriding concern was not about this particular sign, as Attorney Stevenson has indicated. It really was more about the nature of this corridor, the modes of development, this kind of development where we have residential behind commercial where the residential does not have any dedicated frontage is not at all uncommon along Hamilton Road. In fact, it's becoming, I think, the norm. And we're concerned about the proliferation of signs. Yes, we'd like to avoid more freestanding signs, but frankly, we're just concerned about clutter generally. We understand why the applicant wants to be more visible. On the other hand, I think we question whether they're actually going to lease more apartments based on the presence of that sign versus other kinds of advertising and so forth. So we're not sure that a true hardship exists here. And again, we're concerned that this will set off a bit of a chain reaction in this very active corridor of other properties claiming, in a sense, the same hardship, which we do not agree. And hence we will see a proliferation of stacked in effect, multi-tenant signs that were once, single property signs. And that's the reason for our recommendation for disapproval. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And if you would accommodate Mr. Logan, he may have some other thoughts to share.
Mr. Logan?
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Real quickly, the code does not recognize two signs on a common parcel. That's what we all consider off-premise signage. The code does not recognize utilizing signage on a single sign as implying a tenant sign, which in this case the separate property is not. Sets another terrible precedence for the issue. We're unaware of any signage so far along the Hamilton corridor currently in development that allows such a condition under either special permit or through variance up to now. Staff's interpretation of the Northland Plan 2 is, well, a little questionable from my perspective, in that Northland Plan 2 relies on the standard code. Because Northland Plan 2 does not say you can't do or be creative like the client is attempting to do, doesn't mean that it's acceptable with regard to Northland Plan 2. The last item is, and Jamie, if you'd be kind enough to go back to the visibility of the actual Aldi sign itself, whether it's the existing one or the proposed redevelopment with the tenant sign. It was brought up in our meeting. Actually, the photograph of on site is more helpful here. Yeah, that one. If you'll notice, Hamilton Road is clear over to the right, past the tree line, past the fence line. The practicality of the matter is you can't see the sign from North Hamilton Road on a practical basis. Last point I'll make is there's two other apartment complexes along the same road adjacent to the parcel in question, as well as a daycare. And again, don't see a hardship here. It would present the opportunity for those facilities to approach Aldi's on their sign and do the same thing, all for the same rationale, all for the same reason. We do not see a hardship.
Mr. Paul or Mr. Logan, is there any need really for a wayfinding type of sign for this?
Wayfinding only in this, well, no more, no less than any other separate parcel along the access road to Hamilton.
Correct. And I will point out that the address nor phone number or other information about this community, this apartment complex, appears on the sign that the applicant's proposing. If they make the turn at that location, presumably they will see the apartment complex directly behind the Aldi. I think they would see that anyway if they were to turn there. So no, I don't think wayfinding is necessarily a good justification in this case.
Can it be seen from Hamilton? The apartments?
Can the apartments be seen from Hamilton? Not,
yes.
not if you're paying attention to your driving along Hamilton, with all due respect, owing to the speed and proximity. Only once one decides to turn onto the side access road do you really view the apartment complex. It's Jamie, you don't have another photograph back there. I know maybe the applicant in his presentation to us did show an image. that's back along the roadway. The apartment complex shows up fairly far in distance. And again, if you look at the building complex, there's the typical parking lot out front. Therefore, the building proper, the actual architectural element, is set back from the roadway, complements of the parking lot in its final form. Now, currently, I don't believe the building is constructed. Therefore, we're still dealing with an open lot and only have the plan to rely on.
I see. Are there any questions? Did you have something else, Mr. Logan?
No, sir.
Okay. Are there any questions? Any comments?
I do, Les. This is Rich.
Yes.
Again, you said the building is not constructed yet? Did somebody say that?
To clarify, the building is currently under construction. It's not completed, but I think that they're at the drywalling stage. So for the most part, I think it is there.
Okay, but the sign is already up and it looks like it's been up for a while. Is this like a reconstruction of the building?
The sign that we're requesting is for an apartment complex that's behind the Aldi. So the existing Aldi sign is there, and we would just move that existing sign up a little bit and put our apartment sign underneath the existing sign.
So it's the apartments that aren't constructed yet.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay,
Yep.
got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. This is a good photograph. This would be as if you are looking as you turn from Hamilton Road onto the side access drive. The white two-story building complex, mostly with the roof showing in the back, is the apartment complex currently under construction. No, that's the daycare. I'm sorry.
That's the daycare.
That's the daycare. The apartment complex will be back 20, 40, 60 feet from that position owing to the parking lot.
You think adding their address or their name to this sign would proliferate additional signage of that type along the corridor?
Oh.
Go ahead, Mike.
Is this the photograph that's on the screen right now? Is that the primary entrance that, for access to the apartment complex? There isn't any other road. It is going to be that road. Is that right?
Correct. That's the only way to get back there.
It kind of seems to me, it's pretty, it's down below and all that thing. What it would do for me is if somebody gave me I'm turning down that way and sign for there below the Aldi's. I know it's not very conspicuous or whatever, but it sure would give me a sense of confidence that I'm on the right track. We're going to the apartments. The people that are living back there, they have friends coming in and say, kind of look for the Aldi's, and just it'll be clarified with. That it sure isn't a glaring
Mr. Paul,
thing, anything like that.
Mr. Paul, are you saying that if they had a Aldi's type sign with tenant panels, that would be more acceptable to you?
No, I don't think I meant to imply that. I think we, again, are concerned that every residential property without frontage is going to look at this as an opportunity to gain the same exposure that Mr. Hoy is referring to, and I think I understand why they'd like that. But that we would see, in effect, something akin to the development of signage with tenant panels, including off-premises graphic, becoming quite standard along Hamilton Road, increasing the overall clutter, visual clutter, distracting from driving along this roadway and so forth. So I'm not suggesting that we would support that. I'm saying I think we would see that as a negative.
And you would rather see two signs out there?
Well, in fact, even if they were separate signs, we would still be talking about it today because it is an off-premise graphic, correct?
Right.
And I think we would still stand in opposition to this sign for essentially the same reason. But obviously with a different solution. But I think we would still oppose the graphic for the same reason, to minimize clutter along this right of way, this very active right of way, and avoid establishing a precedent that all of those properties, many properties behind commercial properties along this right of way, would also like to enjoy.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have what they feel is a reasonable finding of fact for this? Because I'm not sure that I agree with staff.
This is Pete Williams.
If I could.
No, go ahead, Pete.
Just so the address of this property is on Menery Lane, but the sign is on Gilby Street. So the address that you're looking for in navigating to the facility is off of Menery Lane. So there's no sign at that corner?
There's if you're looking at Menery, the corner that we're looking for is the one that's at Ashton. I believe that's the name of the road in Hamilton. And the reason being is that there was already an existing easement agreement with Aldi prior to our client purchasing this lot. So this is only the really possible area for us to have a sign with frontage on Hamilton.
Okay.
The sign is at Hamilton and Gilby, correct?
I think it's Ashton.
Yes, it's Ashton.
It is Ashton?
Yep, or Ruston. Sorry, Ruston.
The site plan and Google Maps have two different names for it, so I think they're private streets, so it's kind of inconsequential. But if you look at the location on the site plan, that should show you where the sign will be. Oh.
Jimmy, can you show the photograph, the actual sign position photograph again? The Aldi sign, I'm sorry. Okay, so back to my point. Okay, if you're southbound on Hamilton Road, you can't even see the Aldi sign.
I don't think I agree with that. From
okay.
Google Maps, you can see if you're heading southbound. Jamie, if you could do a southbound Google Maps image.
I've got it.
Go for it.
And you know, we really think this sign is necessary for safety, so that when people are trying to find the apartments, that they aren't distracted looking at their phones. Instead, they're aware of their surroundings and can easily locate the apartment complex. For all the visitors who would be there. I'd also say that while it might be precedent setting for the Northland Community Council, there was a similar special permit recently granted in September for a apartment complex that was just on the southern side of Hamilton Road. Similar setup here, where there was a commercial corridor out front of that residential area, and the residential apartment complex just needed identification because they're blocked from view by all the commercial lots.
If we may use this photograph with all due respect to the applicant, and looking at the tenant sign, the physical size of it, I would assume therefore the bottom portion of this, okay, where it says Aldi's will be the approximate physical size of the proposed sign addition. I'll call it a tenant sign onto the Aldi's main graphic. If you'll pan back, okay, right there. I'm driving down Hamilton Road going 45 mile an hour. Are we saying that that's really a viable graphic at that point, owing to the precedent we're claiming to establish here? And I assume if they trim the trees down, and on they go. We applaud the applicant for being, and we appreciate the fact that we're not talking a second sign out here, I guess, which would be their option in the process. But from the overall perspective of the project, are we really, is there an adequate bang for the buck here, owing to the precedent, at least from the perspective of the Northland? Mr. Thompson raised the issue of Northland Plan 2 and staff's position. Again, I have an issue. Does the applicant have any say on that?
I do think that the sign would be adequate to identify it and let people know if you're traveling south on Aldi. If you know the name of the apartment complex as 43 at New Albany, you know it's in this general location. If you look at our graphic, there's kind of a bright orange 43, which is probably all that you need to identify that that's my access point, make the correct turn, not have to deal with having to turn around later because you missed it. I think that would be adequate.
Mr.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yes, I think Mr. Stevenson, I could feel a little bit better if you had put that in your hardship statement, that it's more of a wayfinding sign, but it's not there. And it just really throws me off. It's that now we're saying that it's to help guide motorists to this particular site, to help be a wayfinding sign, which I could see it as a wayfinding sign, but unfortunately you just didn't put that in your statement of hardship.
So just one point, there are no variances for this sign. It otherwise complies with everything in the graphics code. It's just the off-premises nature. And actually the standards for issuing a special permit for an off-premises sign is different than a hardship. The items that you look for is whether there's going to be a substantial detriment to the public good, whether it's going to be a substantial impairment to the intent of the zoning district, and whether there's going to be significant incompatibility with the general character of the neighborhood. So I think really what the intent of the code is trying to get at is to prevent there from being billboards in a residential district or something like that, where you're going to really change the character of the area. I would say, and I think that it's true, that this doesn't really change the character. This is an existing sign with a small modification and no additional variances. So I think that, and that way it's the perfect candidate for a special permit.
Okay, I understand now. I'm glad you explained that too, because I totally had forgotten about that, and I do appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I think we should move on. And I appreciate all the comments. I think I'm going to make a finding of fact that with the way the plan volume 2 for Northland is written and the nature of the change to the sign, that I find this is appropriate for this location. And I need a motion with a finding of fact.
I'd like to make a motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, it's properly moved and seconded. Can we call the roll then on the finding of fact, please?
Mr. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Mashinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Hoy?
Yes.
Chairman Thompson?
Yes. Now let's vote on the, God help me, I can't think of the names today. The law in this particular case for the approval of the sign.
All right. All right. Mr. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Mashinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Hoy?
Yes.
Chairman Thompson?
Yes. And gentlemen, Northland, I appreciate your position, but I think that this is, hopefully will be discreet about any other proliferation of this type. It's not as discreet as this one is. Thank you.
Thank you for the commission's time. We appreciate your consideration.
Okay, we have another one.
Thank you.
This is 1860 to 1900 Hard Road 20-043. Would the applicant please come forward? Are you muted, sir?
There we go. Mr. Chairman, Steve Moore with More Signs.
Thank you, sir. I need to swear you in. Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Did you get that, Tony? Does it need to repeat it again? Why don't you repeat it, sir? It's just to make sure she got it.
I
And your
do.
affiliation to the case.
I'm an agent for the owner and the applicant.
Thank you. Who's presenting this one? Mr. Murat?
Yes, thank you, Chair Thompson. And just for the record, Mr. Cooperman will again be recusing himself on this one as well, so I think he has left the meeting. So this case is GC 20-043 at 1860 to 1900 Hard Road. This is zoned C4 commercial. Site is developed with a commercial retail center. Surrounding uses include commercial developments along the Hard Road corridor, multi-unit residential developments, and some single-unit dwellings. The applicant requested variances to modify the existing pylon sign fronting Hard Road. The existing sign advertises a single tenant, while the proposed would include 7 tenant panels, an increase from the 4 that are permitted by code. Variances to increase the graphic area devoted to tenant panels and decrease the graphic area devoted to the entire use or the shopping center are also required for the sign as prevented as shown on the screen there. Planning has no comment. The northwest area plan does not address tenant panels on existing signs. And the far northwest coalition recommends approval of this request. And I'll just add a little extra here. I don't know if you guys remember, one of my first cases with you was across from Graceland Shopping Center, a very similar sign where they had a shopping center much like this and just wanted to shrink the overall shopping center name and add more tenant panels. This is much the same case. So in summary, the proposed update to the existing sign does not alter its size, and it remains in scale with the building facade and general streetscape, as the northwest plan does not address the increase in tenant panels or the redistribution of graphic area for said tenants. Staff can support the proposal.
Okay. Thank you. Sir, would you present your case?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Commission members, in an effort for full disclosure, I don't know where we missed it along the lines of communications, but there are actually 2 identical signs on this property, one fronting Hard Road and one fronting Smoky Row Road at the west entrance to the shopping center. The commission, the area commission was aware of it. I don't know. It just must have been missed when staff reviewed my application. But they are identical in size and in design, and the design we propose for each is identical. So the drawing you're seeing is representative of what each sign would look like. Another thing we did in an effort to keep this aesthetically pleasing and a little less complex than it could be is that we're going to limit all the tenants to a background with white lettering, all the same font. The only reason that Dollar General is in yellow with black copy is that that is actually part of their lease agreement with the current owners and under the current lease. So we're kind of locked into that, and I think the owners would probably change that back to black with white lettering if Dollar General were to leave. So it would be consistent as to the alternative of the 4 tenants that would be allowed on it without a variance, there would be no control over colors, except through lease agreements. But the ownership has agreed that this is a better way to go than letting any logos and different colors on the sign. Our increase is only, I believe, an 8% increase in the overall 50% usage, and we're going from 4 to 7 tenant panels. I think that's it. I'd take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to this case? Not seeing anyone. Do I have any questions or comments?
I'll just talk to Jamie real quick. Do we have any issue with those variances being on 2 signs rather than 1? I don't feel
No,
like
I think
there's
since
any
the
problem.
application came in, I just looked at the application. It was clear there. It was reviewed as just the variances, so the variances are appropriate for each sign. We'll just chalk it up to a typo by saying it's a pylon sign, plural, so we're good.
Okay.
Okay, not hearing or seeing any other comments. I rate these signs are appropriate for this location. I'm very familiar with it. I think it would be a good addition to the site, and I think it's an appropriate change to the signage. So can I have a motion to the finding of fact for this?
I'll make a motion to the finding of a fact.
I'll second that.
Second. Let's use all in favor of it. Use the sign of aye.
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 Opposed? Not hearing any. The motion is carried. Let's have a voice vote on the law and approval of the sign then.
Mr. Hoy,
Yes.
Mr. Cooperman,
He's gone.
himself.
he's
You
gone.
recused.
Oh, okay. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Mashinsky, Mr. Mashinsky still here?
I'm not seeing him.
I don't either. Okay. Mr. Bender,
Yes.
Chairman Thompson.
Yes, and it is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the commission. Thank you, Mike.
No problem.
Is there any other business, Mr. Freeze or Mr. Price?
There is one more piece of business before we all log off here. I'm sorry, Mr. Cooperman and Mr. Mashinsky are gone, given their time on the commission here, but it's kind of a double-edged sword here, a pleasure and a sad announcement we have to make. Mr. Rice is retiring after 42 long years.
No way.
Hearing, yeah.
You beat me to it.
Hate to make you jealous, Mike.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Right. So it's been a pleasure working with all of you, and I hope that next month you'll pass the word along to the others who have left. But you're a good group to work with, and it's been a long history. You know, I started doing zoning work in 1990, and I actually came to the city under, if anybody remembers Mayor Tom Moody back in 1979. So that's how long I've been around, and so it's been my pleasure, and I hope I've done what I could do to make your lives easier too. So thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
David.
Yep.
Chair Thompson, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rice, Dave, I'd just like to say it's going to take me a while to get out of the habit of saying, oh, you need to talk with Dave Rice. So please be patient if you start seeing emails and getting phone calls, even in retirement. That's because we'll have to retrain ourselves in the community here.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Well, you bet. And it's always been my pleasure dealing with you two and all the folks up in Northland. Really everywhere, you know. But thank you. I appreciate that.
You enjoy yourself, David.
All right.
A little jealous.
I plan on it.
Okay, if we have no other business, then we can be adjourned.
All right, we'll see you guys next year. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dave might still hang on a second.